It is a condition that has drained many families psychologically, emotionally, and financially. This is none other than the menace of cancer, a disease that has known no boundaries, leaving its victims with nothing to hold on. But for Gillian Mutinda, this was a battleground which she fought positively throughout.
My name is Gillian Mutinda. I'm 30 years old. I'm a seventh born of 9 children. We're a big family. As a child, I used to get sick a lot. I remember when I was in primary school, my mother used to come to school a lot to pick me up because I would faint. When I went to secondary school, I got anemic. This was diagnosed when I was in Form 3 and in Form 4 as well. Then when I finished Form 4, I did well, and I was supposed to go to Australia and do law. I did all my documents and got my visa. But as I was doing my documents, I started getting sick. I went to see a few doctors. The first doctor said I had arthritis because I had pain on my left arm. So then he just gave me medication. I went back home, but the pain did not stop. The pain was really bad at night, but during the day I was fine. So when the pain did not stop, I went to see another doctor who said I had a sprain. My family did not understand how you would have a sprain on your arm. So we went to see a third doctor who again said it's mild arthritis and gave me more medication, but it didn't help again. So that was in 2007. In 2008, I was still having the same pain. So in July, my sister, Caroline, decided that I should go and see an orthopedic surgeon. When I went to see the orthopedic surgeon, when he looked at me, he said I was looking pale. And he immediately just started writing down, and he definitely looked at my arm. I told him I was having pain in my arm. He looked at my eyes, then he wrote down some tests and x-rays. Then he told me that I should go do those tests, but the next day I should come with my mom as well.
My name is Caroline Ocheng. I'm Gillian's older sister. I'm actually the firstborn of 9 children. Gillian is the 7th born in the family. In terms of when she was young, there was not much happening, just apart from, we were many, we grew up in a big home. I just recall when Gillian was in, secondary school, then I started, hearing my mom talking about her not feeling well. Herself, she was very vocal. She's always been a very vocal person. And we didn't think much about it, just the usual. And I remember complaints coming from home. By that time, I'd already moved out of home. I was married. I had my children. But that she wasn't helping much at home. But it's, in hindsight, it's because that the girl was actually in a lot of pain, and we didn't realize it was that bad.
So the next day, as we were doing the tests, it's like the arm was getting worse. So even doing the x-ray was a problem. Then we finished doing the blood tests and the x-rays, then we went back to see the doctor. When we went to see the doctor, he said that only my mom would go back in, that I should wait in the waiting room. So my mom was there for hours, and when she came out, she told me, you need to call your sister. So that was the firstborn, Caroline, and your father, and tell them to come to hospital. So I asked her why, and she said, don't worry, just tell them to come.
When Gillian when she finally went to see this doctor, I'm the one who didn't, that was the doctor I'd sent her to initially when she went and she didn't see. She went with Mom. I was working. I recall vividly, Mom called me and asked me to come. And because it wasn't too far, I was in Thika Road, and I was coming to Aga Khan. I drove like a mad person because I could tell the urgency in Mom's voice. And then when we saw the doctor, he's a fantastic doctor and everything, but dear God, he needs to know how to break news. He did not prepare us. He just, just put it out there and said that she has cancer. The biopsy had not been done, but because of experience, he could see the signs, and he asked us, I remember, to prepare to amputate her hand. And that was I felt it was a really an odd thing coming from a doctor. I remember my mom, being very calm about it, and I was a mess, I was wondering, my head was going into spin, wondering, what are we going to do?
I could tell something was not right because I could see it on my family's face, that they're not telling me something, because one of the doctors was a friend of the family, so I think he had already told them, but they're not telling me. And so you could see it on their faces, but I couldn't ask them, and so I was just waiting for them to tell me. And then the doctor now said that yes, you have bone cancer and all this, and he said that they would have to amputate my arm. And for a 20-year-old, that is much, because you have not yet lived your life, you have not gone to university, you have not done all the things a 20-year-old has done, you have not seen all those things. So I had a dream of being a lawyer. So you're thinking about that, you're thinking about not having an arm anymore. So that was hard. Then the doctor, who was a friend of the family, came and said that there's treatment in other countries where you might not have to amputate your arm. And he told my family that look at these countries. He gave them a list, and these are the options that you have. Look at them, and you might get treatment there that she might not have to amputate her arm, but you need to start chemotherapy. And so they started chemotherapy. So chemotherapy is treatment where you're given through a drip. And at that point, of course, I didn't know what that was, but that was the moment, after the first dose of chemotherapy, that was the moment I realized that I needed to educate myself on what is cancer, what is chemotherapy, what is bone cancer, what is this that I have, what are my options, am I going to live, am I going to die, what everything that they're saying, what is ahead of me. And so the first session that I had was one of the most horrible moments of my life, because I started losing my hair. I was so fatigued. It was painful. It was not supposed to be painful, which I learned later. I could not even walk. I could not leave the bed. I could not bathe myself. I was bleeding through the area of the surgery a lot, because when you're getting chemo and you have any cuts or an area that has surgery, then it tends to bleed more. So there was a lot to deal with. I was always fatigued, and I had to do 2 doses. So then I did the second dose. It was even worse.
And everybody kept on telling us, no, the osteogenic sarcoma is not a cancer that heals. Prepare to amputate her hand. And I remember my mom one day facing a doctor and saying, you know what, you're not God. So you can't keep on giving us this kind of prediction of what we should do. She was very firm and she was very faithful. That's the one thing I admire about my mother. Her faith doesn't waver. When everybody else was thinking, okay, maybe Gillian is going to die, my mom had faith in God, very simple faith in God. And I knew that I had to carry the mantle of trying to find a solution. So I'd wake up, I remember, at 4 or 3 a.m. to try and get to the office very early so I can use the internet and start searching for alternatives. Do osteogenic sarcoma people survive? What are the, all these things, we don't know, it's very new to us. So I started searching India. Then India was nobody knew about India. And God, guided me, and we found Apollo Hospital. We found, I have actually a whole file on the communication that we started having with these people. And fast forward, we didn't even know where the money was going, because I think that time we needed about 2 million, which was a lot of money. But, I keep on saying faith in God, because we raised the money. And we had change. We got the money, and even we got loose change. And Gillian went to India.
We went to India with all the reports. So that's the X-rays, the MRIs, the CT scans, the blood reports. But they said that they have to do their own there. So we started all over again from square one. So the doctor came and said, the treatment plan was they had to give me chemotherapy for 3 months, which was very high doses of chemotherapy. And after 3 months, if the chemotherapy would have worked how they wanted, then they would do a surgery, which they would replace the bone with a prosthesis. So I did that for 3 months, and then after 3 months they did a PET scan, which usually it scans your whole body for any actually any disease or anything that is out of the ordinary. So what the chemotherapy had done for me was a miracle. All the cancer cells, because the cancer had spread from the bone to my tissues and the muscles, the cancer cells lodged on my proximal humerus. So then it became easier for the doctors to do the surgery. So all they had to do is cut the bone and remove the proximal humerus. So then they arranged for the surgery to be done, which was done. So after the surgery, they had to do another PET scan to check how successful it was. After a few days, the doctors came back and they told me that I was 99.9% cancer free. So that was one of the happiest moments of my life, and also my family as well. So then the doctors said that that was not the end, that after that you have to do 1 year of chemotherapy. So at this point I was really tired of being in India, and I was thinking about school. Of course, I'm thinking my friends have left me behind, I need to go to school. So I told my mom the doctor should just tell us what the drugs that we should use, and then we go and do that in Kenya. So now I've started the post-chemotherapy in 2008 in October. Day 1, day 2, I've fatigued, no appetite. I can't do anything for myself. So I'm discharged. I go home and I just can't do anything. So we're just waiting for the next chemo. So the whole of October, I'm just losing weight because, of course, I'm not eating, I'm not doing anything. So then I start getting mouth sores. Then they start because what happens is they start going into your throat. So they just slowly start going into my throat. So I can't eat. So November comes and I'm due for my second chemotherapy. Same effects. And at this point, I'm losing so much weight. I'm actually sick, completely sick. From 60 kilos, I was actually 24 kilos now. So now I was basically bedridden. So now everyone was worried.
When Mom called me finally and told me, you know, every time you wake up every day and you see that you have your life, you're able to eat, thank God. Because she could see that Mudeo's life was slipping away. And then Mudeo wrote down and asked for me to be called. So I'm called, she can speak on phone, and I remember I cried. I cried, a deep cry from God, and I was so desperate. I said, God, we've spent all this money, we took her in, and look at what you're going to do now. But again, God opens paths. I called the doctor in India. I said, listen, this is what is happening. Things are not gone well in Kenya. He told me, can you stabilize her? I said, we'll try. Stabilize her, try and get her to 50 kilos and bring her back. But that bringing back even money is not there. But again, providence. Where you think you've reached the end, God brings another way. We were able to get that money, and Mudeo was stabilized, and she went to India.
When I left India, it's September. So I'm going back in February. In September 2008, I've left India, 60 kilos. I've gone back February 2009, I'm 24 kilos. So they're in shock. So they sent for so many tests, they don't understand, they're asking questions. So they said they can't administer any chemotherapy because they had to stabilize me completely. It actually only took them a week to completely stabilize me. That the reason that I was sick is because I was not given the right chemotherapy medication, that I was given the wrong chemotherapy medication. And other than that, it was administered wrongly. And so that meant that the doctor was not doing it right. So we were all in shock, but at that point we decided we wanted to focus on my treatment and for me to get better. So after the whole year of chemotherapy and everything went well, perfectly well. And then we came back to Kenya and I applied to join school. When I joined campus, I started having something called survivor's guilt, which is basically when you survive from something, you start having moments of guilt about why you survived it and why other people didn't survive. And that's how I ended up getting the trauma, the depression, and it became too much. So many things. I tried seeing counselors, I tried seeing psychiatrists, but I don't think I was serious enough to work on those issues. So it did not work. So because I was in campus, and I mean, it's campus, so you're having fun. So I started drinking.
From one situation to another, Gillian found herself in alcoholism, a place she thought would be better for her, hence avoiding guilt that was within her. This wasted her as an individual, which saw her losing opportunities in the professional world.
Then it got worse, so I drank for 7 years. So in those 7 years, I did a lot of things, a lot of destructive things. I hurt a lot of people.
With everything that she went through, the alcoholism just slipped in. And it took us a while to know.
With all this, friends disappeared from her. But for one, it was more than just campus friendship. Audrey realized the role she had in Gillian's life and stuck by her to date.
My name is Audrey Katharima, and I'm Gillian's really good friend. We've known each other since 2010. We were in university together. In university, we were somewhat close. She would have been known as the party girl, or the person who gives you the drinks or gets the drinks, is in charge of the drinks, because that's how we would imagine her as being, because that's how she portrayed herself as being. And then, of course, I got the story about her having cancer. But you see, at the time, you think the whole partying is normal. You don't think that this individual might be going through depression. This individual might need to talk more about what it is that they went through when they were going through it, because it's not something that has affected you directly, so therefore you don't really know how to respond to something like that. So we had no idea that what she was going through was as bad as it was.
So when they took me to a rehab center in Limuru, Kentmere. But I didn't know what even it was a rehab. I thought I was just going to see a doctor. So they took me there and left me there. I didn't know they had left.
And I remember my mom crying. That was, wow. For me, I was happy. There were no tears for me, but my mom really cried. I thought she'd be happy that we've taken her, but I guess she was feeling the loss of her child, because there was no saying goodbye. Just ate at the gate and we were told to go, and we were told no calling, nothing. If we need you, we'll call you.
But actually, I was taken there when I was sober, and I think that's actually a good thing. But there was this one lady who was brought on the third day. So I saw when she was brought, and I was in shock on that day. Like, I was like, is this how I look like when I'm drunk? Because she was shaking. She couldn't hold anything. Like, her teeth were just, she couldn't eat anything. And so we were trying to feed her. She couldn't even eat. Then she got a seizure. So she fell on that maram, and she fell on her head, and it actually, her skull, it cracked into, like, you could see everything. And it was crazy. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is what alcohol does to people. Like, this can actually happen to a person. And that was my moment. That was the moment that I said, I will never drink again. And I went to the senior counselor, who was the manager, and I told him, I have decided that I will never drink again. I want you to be my counselor. I want you to teach me everything that I need to know. And I'm a very rational person, so I like facts. Like, if you tell me something and it's factual, that sticks with me. And so we do 12 steps and all these things when you're in rehab and everything. And so that's what I did. So I stayed there for 3 months, and I came out, and so yeah. So I've been sober for 2 years, 8 months now.
The person that she is now is not the person that she was then, and now she's I'd say grown up and in a much better place than she was. She's reliable, she's a person that you can confide in and not expect, you know, because she's drunk, she told something to someone. But now at this point you can have an actual relationship with this person, and she's I'd say much better person, and I'm really proud of who she's become and who she's becoming, especially with her sharing her story to other people and helping others, which is something that I've seen is something that she loves to do, especially when it comes to educating other people who might not know more about what she went through, and what they're going through is something that you can get past and you can grow from as well.
And Gillian got out of it, and you know, she's very vocal about it. You know, if you follow her Twitter handle, her Facebook, I wonder how the time she had her Instagram, very not shy about speaking about her alcoholism, because that is who she is and that is part of what makes her who she is. And I think for the purpose that she needs to fulfill, she needs to show that. And I see personally, I see God's you know, God's hand in all this. Gillian has a purpose that she has not yet fulfilled, and I know with her, she's only 30 years, she has a long life ahead of her. She needs to change lives, to touch people, and she's done it in many ways. Every time there's a cancer, there's somebody who has cancer, and you know, when cancer comes to our family, it's like a death sentence. She's forever going to counsel people even she doesn't know. Even in hospital, going to speak to the families to understand, to give hope. There's nothing as important as giving hope to the hopeless.
I believe everything happens for a reason. And I found my purpose in life through all these things. Through getting cancer, through my alcoholism, through my depression, through my trauma, I have found my purpose, I have found my calling. I am a motivational speaker. I give people hope, I give people strength, people who have lost hope, people who have nothing to live for. And today I would want to tell you that there's always something to live for. And there's always a reason for everything. My alcoholism, for instance, has led me to find people who are suffering of the same and get them to rehabs. And today, I have actually gotten about 10 people who have gone to rehabs because of me. And for me, that is a gift. Because of my cancer, people come to me every day to find hope, to find that strength. And because of the strength I had, because of that hope, people get that strength to move forward and to try and be positive as they get this treatment for cancer.
A quote by Desmond Tutu says, "You don't choose your family. They are God's gift to you, as you are to them." And this is exactly the feeling Gillian had due to the presence of her family.
My purpose is to give people hope, strength, and passion for life. And that is the story of my life.